You ready?
No.
All right, here we go. Back for another one. Come on with it. Got my boy Mike Christiansen, CFM Innovations.
Right.
Did I get that right?
You did.
You didn't take my advice on naming it, so that's why I struggle to remember it.
Yeah, you wanted to name it something fucking dumb, probably. Like
Something crazy, I'm sure.
Something crazy that.
So Mike here is, I would say, the best way I describe what you do is like fit and finish. Like after it gets done with somebody like John Little or Gary, it goes to you. It gets wired front to back. It gets plumbed. It gets started, put up on the trans brake. It gets completed, right?
Yep, ready to run.
I would say specifically focusing on wiring,
right?
But turnkey.
Turnkey.
I think that's really what it is, right? You're turnkeying a race car.
Right. Yeah. Like it started, mostly just wiring, right? Like a majority of it was the wiring and stuff, and then, dabbling with the stock ECU tuning, right? That kind of, the tuning side of it becomes second nature, I guess, right? Like getting it running.
It just goes hand in hand, right? Yeah.
So then it turned into basically getting it ready for the dyno, right? Like you drop a car off that you spend a bunch of money at the chassis shop, get put together. Now it's wired, right? Running, drive it on the trailer, ready to go here. Hopefully have one trip to the dyno, right? With no issues, which we try to shake down by putting them on the brake and all that.
So Mike is the man behind. So if you guys have been following the Tabers, right? Probably around the same time that I started tuning for them, you also got involved. Am I correct in saying that? I know you guys were friends, but I'm saying like heavily involved in their program.
Well, yes. Yeah, probably around that time when Chris's car was on, it was still single turbo at the time, so it was after the twin turbo thing. We weren't like friends then when he was on the twin turbos.
Because when it went from twin turbo to single turbo, I'm fucking up the levels here.
It's okay.
When it went from twins, up over the hood, Cletus McFarlane style.
Cletus McFarlane style.
To the single turbo, that's also when it got off the fast, and that's when I started tuning it.
Right, it was on Mega Square at the time.
It was on MS3.
Yep.
And so where I was going with that is around the same time, what I'm trying to say is if you think back a couple years ago where the Tabers, I don't know if we're giving us like too much credit, but when the Tabers really got their shit together was, I started tuning for them and Mike really started getting involved with sorting the race cars out, right? Like getting Chris's car not fucked up. Like Mike is the man behind like why those cars run as well as they do. Yeah, they'll come here, I'll tune them, Mike comes with it, we tune them together, right? I almost never see data or I'm never like on call or remote working with the Tabers because you handle all that stuff.
Right.
So I'm trying to give you credit because really that's where, like, I do the tuning on it and whatever, right? But Mike really does the heavy lifting. He's the one out there in the middle of the street, in the middle of the night on a weekday, figuring out why the thing is doing what it's doing, right? And me and Mike talk 4 times a week minimum, right? Yeah. And we go over it the next day or whatever, the next time we talk. But he's the man, he's the boots on the ground. So because of that, Mike starts his own business, his own wiring business, which is great because this area needed it so bad. Right.
There was like very little people that were willing to even get involved in that, right?
On that caliber.
Right.
There was a lot of people that would wire in a pressure transducer for you or whatever, but front to back race car wiring that's serviceable.
Right.
Yeah. There was a heavy need for it in New England.
For sure.
So Mike has brought me, dude, how many cars have we worked together at this point?
I mean, shit, it was even before we actually had a legit shop. We were still doing them at my house and my dad's house. I think Frank's was the very first one. Rappa.
Rappa.
Mega Squirt.
Yep.
Right, and that was probably 4 or 5 years ago now.
It's got to be more than 10 cars we've worked together.
Right, that were full deals. Full deals.
We've worked on 30 cars together.
Right. Yeah, but full
CFM deals.
Right.
Yeah.
Like front to back,
wired,
redone,
plumbed,
pulled everything out. Yeah, plumbed, ready to rock and roll. And to touch back to that, right? Like, I do help out a lot with the Tabers, but Chris still won, races. They still won stuff without.
Yeah, hold on.
Without me.
And without me.
Right.
Like, let's put a pause on that.
Right.
The Tabers are gonna win.
That's because they have the 4-leaf clover up their ass.
They have the 4-leaf clover up their ass. That's an
inside joke.
Inside deal. That it's not even an inside joke. That's just what we say about the Tabers amongst the friend group, right?
Right.
The Tabers are going to win no matter what they do. It's just how it is. It's just the sky is blue. The
but there's
ocean,
a lot of time put in there too. That people
is.
don't see. Luckily we have Devin on our side, right? Who's always along for to record the shenanigans that go on with us going to test on a whatever Tuesday night at 11 o'clock at night. And he's probably one of the best guys I know behind a camera that can edit and video and make it so people want to see it,
Dude, his videos are insane. And Devin...
So much time go. Like, I don't think people realize, right? Like, he puts out a 1-minute teaser, right? And he has hours and hours. Like, dude, he probably picks 15 songs and...
Bro, he
has
told
14
me...
revisions of it.
I don't know if you remember. He told me, like, the number. For every... It was something crazy. For every 12 minutes of footage, he's got 12 hours of editing or something. Like something so disproportional.
Yeah, and he's just super picky, but it shows, right? Like, he's super tedious and he wants things a certain way, and it shows.
He has the best street racing videos on the internet, hands down, bar none.
Yep.
He helped me out so much, dude. I had so many when I first started, when I had the idea of doing this. Like he spoon fed me how to what I should be doing. Right. Yeah, Devin's the man.
I think he has it figured out now though too, right? Like people want to see like what they want to see, and how long most people are willing to sit down and watch,
Oh yeah. But, no, he's got the recipe.
Right.
I personally wish his videos were longer.
Yeah, me too.
I realize every minute is 7 hours of his life.
Right.
So taking a 12-minute video to a 15-minute video is you won't see Devin for a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do wish they were I wish I could just watch him all day every day.
Yeah. He's funny too because we'll go out, and we'll get home 2 o'clock in the morning and everyone's beat, I go to sleep and you wake up. And then I'll check my phone, whatever, 9, 10 o'clock.
Teaser.
Fucking teaser. I'm
teaser.
This guy didn't go to sleep, Yeah.
We're talking about Devin, the guy that makes the Dirty Dollars YouTube videos. And it's funny because I don't think he gets paid for that because he uses the best music, but it's all copyrighted. Right. So I don't think you can monetize that.
He doesn't give a fuck about that. He said, "This is my video. I'm doing whatever the fuck I want."
Dude, clearly he does. And
I love that.
Dude, that's some real shit.
Yeah, Devin's a fucking man.
So getting back to what you were doing, right?
Right.
First of all, I want to toot my own horn.
Toot? Okay, yeah, let's
You already know what it is.
Yes, I do.
Let me explain. Let me guide you in.
I'll have to
Let me
jump
guide
in.
you.
I might have to, make sure the story is right, Because
sure
this might be one-sided.
Make sure my head doesn't get too big for the room.
Yeah.
All right. So I meet Mike, right? This is gonna sound pretty gay, right? But whatever, fuck it. I meet Mike, and right away, I can tell Mike's a race car.
You remember with what?
The Zephyr.
The Zephyr.
With David Tabor's Zephyr.
Carbureted
piece
of shit.
Nitrous. I don't even know why I was involved. We just needed the dyno, I assume, right?
Yeah. Yep. The old dyno.
Right. The old dyno.
East side, right?
Yep. Ken's dyno.
Ken's.
And I knew right away. I was like, Mike's a race car. And then me and Mike start talking. We become friends, and I quickly realized that the race car world needs Mike. Right? And my wife will back me up on this story because she heard me on the phone. So basically what happens is I just bully Mike because he had a normal job at the time.
Yep.
I just bully Mike to the point for years, for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it was at least 2
years. It was a long game.
Yeah, it was a long game.
To start his own business.
You never gave up.
I did never give up. And then you did start your own business, and It is kicking ass.
It is kicking ass, yep. So, and my dad's with me full time.
That's badass.
And is super huge part of it, as well, because he has the same eye and he's tedious with stuff, and honestly, it works out awesome. We work together really extremely well,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do the amount of stuff that we do already, we have 7 cars inside right now. Right. And if I was by myself, forget it.
That's impossible.
Impossible.
Right. He's there while you're here fucking around doing a podcast.
He's actually making money.
He's generating income.
Yeah, you and me are just here fucking around, and he's working hard,
right. Which is funny from what I've never met your father. I know him via how many speakerphone conversations
he will
we've
outwork
had.
anybody.
he's done well for himself and is retired.
Yeah.
And he is doing this because he loves doing this.
Literally loves it.
And he did nothing with cars for his career, right?
Nope.
That's sick.
No cars. Not as a career.
What did he do?
So he had his own business, construction business, for 10 years. And then after that, he was a project manager at a HVAC place, So he would go in and do paperwork and run a crew of guys and, shit like that. But even then, he was driving back and forth to Westchester from our house, like an hour ride. Mm-hmm. And he would come home and work on cars at his house, So before we had our shop, we both had shops set up at our houses.
Separate houses.
Yep. And I could only get one car inside at a time. My dad could get 2 or 3 and still be able to work on them at his place. So like we would rotate cars,
between the two shops.
Between our 2 houses just to get the jobs done. Or if like somebody had reached out to me, hey, we want some work done on your car, I'd be like, oh, we'll bring it to my dad's house if we had room inside or whatever to work on it. And then we got the shop and everything. Like when I tell you, dude, like I was like, oh, I'll keep some tools at home so I could tinker with my own shit. Fuck that. The shop's 10 minutes from the house. We brought all the tools there. Yep. We have everything, Yep. We have everything you need there to do, doubles now basically of everything.
Right.
Which is awesome.
It's funny because I'm like the exact opposite. So I've always had my shop. I've had a couple shops, but this one I've been in the longest. Well, besides the one with like John and Noah.
Right.
We were in that one for like 10 years.
Right.
But I've been in my own shop for the last, 6 or 7 years. And all of my stuff, like all my dirt bikes, my stand-up jet skis, all my power washers, everything would be here. And then when I bought my house, it has a big garage.
Right.
And now I take everything out of here
and bring it
here. So I'm the exact opposite. Let me ask you this. Was it hard? So your dad, successful career, didn't need the money. Everything's going great. Was it hard to get him to quit what he was doing? Because he was doing that project manager stuff probably just to stay busy, it sounds like.
Well, he was still working completely full-time. But, yeah, I don't think he's ever, if you met him and like really talk to him, I think that he will just work until
the day dies.
Yeah. Like,
was
especially on doing stuff that he wants to do,
Was it hard did you have to twist his arms to get him
Yes.
to quit? You did?
Yeah.
He wasn't all in right away?
No.
Really?
No. Same thing. Like So
you make the decision. You're doing it.
Yeah, which was mostly because of you, right? Like I would have a fucking bad day, right? And I'd call you and be like, this place sucks. Right.
Your old job.
Yeah, my old job. This place sucks, right? And it was like I had a good job, Like
right.
I got paid well and I could basically fuck around and do whatever I wanted, right? And still got paid.
And do your own side work there.
Yeah, like I was cutting 4-link brackets and all kinds of shit on the laser,
right. They were cool.
And he's still cool. Me and him have a great relationship. I still go there, help out, fix machines, whatever. But
it's just working for somebody else bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
And then finally, like I went in there and I was like, listen, man, because I remember I said, dude, I don't know how I'm going to tell him, right? Like I've been here 7 years now, and like he relies on me. So I remember you were like, fuck it, like just do it, whatever. So it kind of just like happened, right? I went in there and I'm like, I'm just going to tell him that I don't want to, I'm just going to do something on my own. So
I think our conversation was a little different. I think our conversation was more like, if he's not happy for you, fuck him.
Right. Which
because you're not going out to compete with them.
Right.
You're going out to chase your dreams.
Which is exactly how it went. Right. So I remember we sat down just like this, and I said, I have an opportunity to do something that I know I will regret if I don't try.
Right.
And he was just like, well, fuck. You got to do it.
Yeah. What are you gonna say to that, bro?
So it went like I was like, how is this going to go in my head, right? I'm trying to play out all these things. And it was went the best way. He was like, fine, like I can't stop
That's the
you.
luck.
Yeah. He's like, I hope it works out for you and everything. And because he was so cool about it, I was like, listen, if at first we'll get somebody in here that can do it. And I kind of like weaned out of there, like
right.
Sometimes I would just show up one day a week or whatever, right. Or I'd show up for a few hours and he'll still call me time to time and I go there and I'll fix a machine or whatever. And
right.
he'll let me get, some steel or aluminum or whatever the fuck. He's just like, take it,
Yeah.
So
yeah. How could what's he going to
I still have the keys, like I could
right.
call him right now and be like, hey Brian, I need some, I need a sheet of aluminum. And he'd be like, yeah, get whatever you need. Just write it down. Let me know what you took,
Right.
So super cool.
All right. So you quit your job. You make the decision. You quit your job. Now the next task at hand is getting your dad on board.
Right.
Because that was critical to the whole deal, right?
Yep. So I had quit full time. I was working there in the shop every day, February of 24.
Okay.
And, you know, every day, just like I was normally going to work, I was just there by myself, you know, banging stuff out. And I was like, you know, I'm like, fuck, this is awesome. But like, you know, I'm like talking to myself throughout the day, you know, like in there just by myself. I'd get a shit ton work done, you know. So then my dad would show up after he got home, which was like 6 o'clock, you know, he worked till 5 and hour ride home or whatever. So he would stay, and he'd stay with me till whatever, 8, 9, 10, 11, who the fuck knows, you know, at night. So I was telling him, I'm like, I'm telling you, like, the work is there, you know? I'm like, but I was having a hard time, even now, right? Like, scheduling these cars because, like, somebody will bring it in, just needs to be wired, you know? And then...
Are you saying just needs to be wired?
Just needs to be wired.
Yeah,
right?
just ready for a tune.
Ready, yeah.
Yeah.
So, right, get it wired up, and then it's like, well, it's not plumbed, you know? Or there's no brake lines in it, or whatever. And they're like, well, it's already there. Can you do it? So it's like, yeah, no problem, we do it, you know? So then, like, snowballs, right?
Well, the problem is that you don't want to do that type of work. You do a great job of that type of work. It's just what you're saying is you don't know about it up front.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like
so scheduling gets all fucked up.
Right. Because, and then, like, more so for me, right? Like, I like the fact that the cars can leave finished, right?
Yeah.
Like, after my shop, they're
coming here.
They're driving them on, right? And they're coming here, and just like Frank's car and Dave's car and Chris's and, you know, all the other cars that we brought here, Satansky's car, like, for the most part, they're pretty, like, we come here and we make one pull on the dyno, and we're like, yup, this thing's ready to be turned up, you know?
Yep.
So, and that's, you know, like, you know, setting the reference angle and, you know, getting it running, right? Testing all the outputs, test the shifter, right? Like, it comes here and, you know, I take, you know, we make wiring diagrams so, like, I can test stuff, but all of that, the dumps, all that shit is tested before it even comes here, you know? Or whether, if they bring it to somebody else, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
It's done, you know, tested.
Oh, we have,
know it works.
I mean, you know, Mike at this point has a lot of startups from me, you know what I mean? So I don't hear from him on every car. Like you just did J.D. Clemente's car.
Yep.
Right? And you got that thing fired up and running just fine. But, you know, like, you know, next thing I know is I just get an email from Mike of this thing on the trans brake. Right. And he goes, hey, just make sure this thing's doing everything you need it to do. And then it comes here, and I don't know. I think we have a pretty good success rate.
I think so too.
I mean, I'll tell you this much, you know, and this is all bullshit, right? I don't have actual numbers, but I would say only about 10 to 20% of the cars that come through my door have a successful session. Right.
As far as like just any just not making what they want, or just like some bullshit.
Oh,
like the thing's leaking.
No. I'm completely discounting things that have like mechanicals, or you know what I mean, like stuff failures. Like I'm not even including that. I'm talking about shit that comes here that the shifters don't work, that the dome pressure doesn't work, that you know, it's got CO2 leaks. You know, just completely not ready shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's some shit that like it comes here with, that cars will come here with, and I'm like, well, there's no way he could have known this was going to be an issue until we started to make horsepower. Right. And I'm sympathetic to that. Right.
Yeah, like if it does everything else right. You start turning it up and it blows spark out or something because the smart coil wiring isn't great.
Right? Yeah. And you know, yeah. So, but with you guys, with you and your father, that we have a very high percentage, which is, you know, crazy.
But I feel like, you know, like every time, like me and my dad talk about this all the time, right? Like every time we do a car and we change something, like it's a good test for us, right? Like Frankie Rappa's car, right? I did stuff that was a little bit differently than what they wanted you to do as far as like clean grounding went and everything.
What do you mean?
Like certain ways of like wiring, you know what I mean? Like as far as like wiring go, because like
give me specifics.
So like some cars suffer from having noise, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's, you know, like from like the coils, right? Or like just bad grounding, no shields, shitty sensors, right? You see that sometimes with the cheaper sensors.
Yep.
But obviously, like you want all of the clean stuff to go directly to the battery, right? Like that's the suppressor in it, you know what I mean? That will get rid of all the noise, but it needs to be a direct path without anything else on it, you know?
Right.
So, so all of our panels now, right, we have a clean and dirty ground that's a big gauge wire that goes right back to the battery, you know? And the E-gates were a big thing for that too. you know,
Yeah.
that suffered from noise, and you would chase them in that oscillation bullshit, you know,
Right.
which we've proved that once we change the wiring on that. But as we go and we do it, right, and we have proof, like when it's on the dyno is the best time, right? The thing's strapped down there and you get good clean data. Now we know, right, like that's the new standard, right? Is like the panel's going to look like this. It's going to have this many relays.
Oh,
So
you're
for
saying
us,
you're saying it's nice making a change
and
bringing it here
Right.
and quantifying that change.
right, exactly.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were taking notes like that.
Yeah, we do. I mean, you see it, right? Like you get a map sensor reading or dome pressure, right? Dome pressure is a good one.
Dome pressure's a good one
Dome-
because it's always near something noisy.
Right.
It
Always-
seems like.
Right. And what's worse than a shitty fucking dome trace, right? Like the thing, you're going to be chasing the PIDs around, trying to dial it in and everything.
Right.
So, you know, if you get it remote mounted, right, number one, and you put it in a canister, right, you make like a little expansion tank like a back pressure would be, that seems to help smooth that out, you know, because there's no volume, you know.
Right.
Like same thing like how a map sensor will look on like a snowmobile or something that doesn't have a ton of plenum volume, you know, super
Right.
spiky. And smoothing it in the log just helps you visually, you know what I mean?
Well,
Look at it.
not all ECUs, Holly, and this isn't a dig at Holly, but Holly,
Always picking on Holly.
I know.
Always fucking picking on Holly.
Holly doesn't allow you to apply a smoothing before it gets processed.
Right.
Right. So Fuel Tech, you can set up average points in a digital frequency filter.
Right. Yep.
Megasquirt, you can too, to an extent.
Yeah, Megasquirt. I love Megasquirt.
I do love Megasquirt.
love me
But
Megasquirt.
Holly does not allow you to put a smoothing
Before
before
the ECU sees it.
Right, before the ECU actually does something with it, which makes it incredibly like critical that it's actually clean.
Right. I mean, clean data is everything, you know?
Yeah.
Look at drive shaft, right? Drive shaft's fucked off.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah, drive shaft's fucked off, and then you want me to get it to, you want to show up to a race and have me put a tune-up in it, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, you want to go fast, and the thing doesn't work till it's at 80 miles an hour, right?
Right,
And-
or it shuts off when
or
it's
shuts
at
off,
80.
right.
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 So back to your father, right?
Yep.
Like, did you have to twist his arm?
Yeah,
like,
we really fucking got off the path there, huh?
oh, that's nothing, dude. We're 23 minutes in. Do you know how
So-
far off the path we're going to end up?
I know.
I just really want to hear about your dad because, like,
So anyway, right? Like we were getting a ton of work already, right? Like, and a lot of repeat customers. We've had great customers.
Yeah.
Right? So we were getting a lot of work, and I was like, I just can't do. Like I was just saying yes, right? Someone reached out to me. Hey, you want to do a turbo kit? You want to do this? You want to do that? I'm like, fuck, we got all this room. Hell yeah, bring it. Next thing I know is I got fucking cars everywhere, right? And I'm like looking around. I'm like, I got to do a whole harness from scratch on 3 cars here, And then like we had Jay's car, and Jay has been there since the beginning, Like his Firebird, he was one of the second cars that I think was in the shop.
the new shop.
The new shop.
Right.
And he's been super awesome and like easy to work with.
Yeah.
And I remember like we've been going back and forth, and he was like, same thing, right? Like, oh, I want to put a roof on it and some carbon fiber doors and hatch and everything. And the car was like mostly complete from the chassis shop when we got it. We were just wiring it,
Right.
And I was like, well, sure, fuck it. Someone's got to do it, So, and then we got the carbon fiber roof on it and doors and all, we did a bunch of other stuff that we didn't originally plan on doing, and the car came out beautiful and is going to be ready here shortly,
Yep.
and it's going to end up here probably.
Well, no, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a fucking unit for sure.
588 single kit,
Single kit.
like Ultra Street, like PDRI Super Street build.
The car's sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got cars like that, and I was taking a lot of work on, and then I just kept busting his balls, right? I'm like, I need you here, like you need to be here. The money, we'll figure it out, like, and I just kept, just picking, and it would be like, it got to a point where like, I was just doing it just because now, right? Like I knew it irked him, and he'd be like, I want to do it, but like I got other stuff I need to figure out, like whatever, financially or whatever he had to figure out on his personal thing. Right. So like me, I was like, fuck, quit. Right.
Everybody's doing it, dude.
Quit. Everyone. Yeah. I'm like, and it got to a point where I was like, cause he has a house and mortgage and all the bullshit. Same thing like me.
Yeah. He's a real adult.
Yeah. And I'm just like, we'll fucking figure it out. I'm like, there's tons of cars out there and like people are willing to give us the money to do it. So just do it. So then come like, I think it's like October or November maybe. And finally
of this past year.
Yep.
Wow, it seems so much longer than that.
Yeah. And he came back and he's like, I remember he came up to me, he's like, he said something, I forgot the exact date, but he was like, the 18th or something, it was like a week away.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck do you mean the 18th?
Yeah, what's happening?
And he's like, that's my last day. I was like, no shit, really? So then that was ended up being his last day. And then we've been working there every day since. And like every day, like we are there Saturday, Sunday. We're there late, like we left there last night.
I don't know if you want to put it out there that you're there on a Sunday.
No. Well, I mean, most of the people know by now.
Yeah.
But we've tried to take Sunday off now, right? Like we've been in it a little bit. And, we both have our own cars as well, right? And like both of our...
Well, you have like fucking 10 cars.
I do have a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point.
Right.
But they all get pushed to the back, right? And like you and I have talked about, like building something that was, right? Like I feel like we have a shop now. We have to do something, right? Like I can't have a fucking 12-second pickup truck, and...
Yeah, I don't know, man. As much as I want you to build a gangster, because I think you could build a really gangster car, right?
But I also live it through, like, like Dave and Chris and Frank are my boys, right? And like Dave, all those guys are ready to race whenever,
Right.
Like Dave will call me on a fucking Sunday at 10 o'clock and be like, let's go get a race. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to sleep, And he's like, I locked in a race. I'm like, fuck it. Come pick me up.
Yeah.
We're going.
What I was going to say is I don't know how much actual value add having a shop car would really give you.
Right. I mean, same thing, right? Like you had a car, but you only had
I would say 90% of the people that I'm in touch with these days have no idea
about it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? I guess like if, the work is done on the cars that are fast enough and competitive enough, right? Which we have cars that are competitive and go out there and win.
For sure.
I think that's more right than.
I mean, that's what did it for me. Right. I didn't need my own personal car to go out there and keep racing, right? Like my work
speaks for itself.
Yeah, it proved itself.
I mean, you've done a ton of fast shit,
Yeah, well, I've been doing it for a long time. Right. So I mean, just a broken clock is twice.
Except for Hondas. Those were all slow.
Miller yelled at me. He's like, I'm sick of hearing the Hondas. I'm like, me too, brother. But everybody else brings it up. So what do you want me to say?
I seen one on the way here, and I was like, that's some shit that Derek had when he was younger.
Oh, fuck off, dude. That's not true at all.
Some fucking fart can on there.
Whatever, man. My shit was cool, dude. My shit was like OEM plus clean.
You had to open the sunroof to fucking pop your head out because fucking...
That's true.
Like the Miatas.
I just tuned some Miatas today.
I know. I got to get a picture of you in a Miata.
Nah, no pictures.
You can't even close the roof.
So you're busy now?
Yeah. Extremely busy.
What's your wait list like?
Probably at this point right now, after we just agreed to do a bunch of cars before I came here this morning, probably 3 months now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And like I said, a lot of them are full blown race cars, like Jay's car.
Right. That's good. That's the type of work you'd want, I would imagine.
Yeah, which is nice because like those guys want like a competitive car, right? So they don't care that it has, a sensor that's 50, buy a real Fuel Tech transducer that's $50 more.
Right.
Like get it done, put all the good stuff in it.
Yeah, like don't bother me with the details.
Yeah.
Like make this thing the best it can.
Yeah, I want all the sensors to be competitive, right? And they got shock sensors, wheel speed, drive shaft sensor, laser ride height.
Yep.
Your typical competitive race car, right? That's what you need nowadays. Yeah,
and it's funny, right? Because like now people are getting smart to that, right? Like now, before I remember when I first started tuning, it was like, should I put a drive shaft sensor in it? And now it's like you won't see a car without one. You know what I mean? Shock sensors. I still got a couple guys that'll fight me on shock sensors. I don't know why. Primer Nick is like my number one on like fight me on shock sensors.
I mean, I guess, right? Like when it comes down to it, it's better to have it and never look at it, right?
I agree.
Like we have a few cars now that have track temp and tire temp in it, and like, have I come up with a good use for it yet? I don't know what the fuck we're really gonna do with it, but it's there.
Well, I mean, it's nice when you're sending data remotely, right?
Right.
Like it's just less notes you have to take.
Right.
Right. As
true.
Like if you're sending me data logs, right? The first thing I'm going to ask you is the track temp, right? Everything else, not everything else, but a lot of the stuff I can look up, right? I can look up your weather conditions.
Yep.
Like I can know where you are and Google your weather
Yep.
conditions, right? And all that type of stuff. So I could start to build my spreadsheets, right? But like if you don't get track temp, I don't know it either, brother.
Right.
Like I'm fucking 2,000 miles away.
Right.
So that's where that stuff really comes into play.
For sure.
So stock ECU tuning, you're my guy for that.
Yep.
Talk to me about that.
You set me up today for that already too.
Oh yeah.
So stock ECU stuff, I do a good bit of. I do a ton of Corvettes now, right? We were talking about that. C6s and CTSVs are like a hot one recently. We do like a lot of the, blowers, pulley, whatever, cam, heads deal.
Right.
There's not really a whole lot of people that do that by me
Even here.
Yeah. And the guys that do charge a lot of money for it, right? Like, and a lot of them want to do it on a dyno, which is great, right? But the watt stuff is easy,
Right.
Like getting the thing to idle and getting it to return to idle, right? And getting it to, you can make a 3-point turn without it stalling. And,
right.
And it's not the lack of knowledge from anybody that does them, right? It's just redundant as fuck, right? There's a few tables in there that, you know what I mean, do the same thing. You got 15 spark tables, right? Closed throttle and park, closed throttle and, you know what I mean, drive, and then the main table and shit. So there's stuff like that, but we do a good bit of that there as, whatever with those, whatever, force induction or whatever,
So Mike brought me, I always have to like incentivize, these.
Yeah, I was going to blow you off.
Yeah, these dirty bastards that come down here and do this podcast with me.
That's true.
Because they know how much money it makes me, which is $0. $0.
$0.0.
$0.0 is the actual amount I've made off of this. But
I bought you a coffee.
You did buy me a coffee. And I got the sick table.
And you got the sick table.
Dude, this table is so sick,
easy,
right?
Don't touch too much.
I'm waiting for my buddy that made me this table to give me the sponsor read, I guess you would call it.
He's going to send you a fucking invoice and say that you owe him $1,000 bucks.
I know.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot more than $1,000 to be honest with you. But
for sure. This thing's sick.
Oh, I don't even know what we were saying.
You were talking about incentivizing.
Oh yeah, I had to incentivize you to do this podcast by allowing you to use my dyno so you could put your personal turbo truck
right,
on the dyno. And it was funny, right? So it rolls in here. The
yellow
truck
jacket.
Yeah, it's a yellow
jacket.
No,
that's her name.
It's the Hairy Canary.
It could be the Hairy Canary. I'm still open, right? We might have to do a vote. The internet might have to decide.
The Hairy Canary. Well, I'll put up a picture of it somewhere, and the Hairy Canary is the name now.
She's a fucking hot rod, though.
It went like 990 something.
997 or something at 136 on just 17 pounds.
Right, 17 pounds of boost with you just track tuning it, street tuning it, whatever.
Yep.
So you brought it down here.
Budget build.
And we strap it to the dyno. 17 pounds, it makes 765.
765, right?
Right.
And we say, I asked you for CO2. You told me to get fucked.
Right.
So I took the reference line off the wastegates.
Well, that's a trick from way back. Take the
right.
It's called.
So we doubled. Yeah. So we doubled the spring. Right?
Right.
I have no idea what the fuck's in it for spring.
Right.
And then we put 8 pounds of dome on it.
On top of that. Yeah.
Fuck it.
So no reference. 8 pounds of dome.
Right.
And it made.
And you told me if it does what I don't want it to do, to smack you on the arm while you're making the pull.
Yeah, because
that's a good part of it. That's a solid point of it. Because I'm sitting in the passenger seat, right? I have no control now.
Right.
Usually I'm in control, so I'm just watching now.
Right. So we got Mike's truck on the dyno, and I'm like, dude, listen, I'm going to be looking at the dyno screen because it's a stock ECU. So the only wideband we have is on the dyno. So I'm just pinned to the dyno, right? I'm like, if you need me to stop the pull, I'm telling you, you have to hit me. You have to like really grab my arm.
And not like a bitch.
Not like a bitch. I'm like, smack me, right? So I make the pull, right? This is 8 pounds of dome on the gate and the reference line unplugged. And it makes like 26 pounds of boost.
Pegs the map sensor.
It
looked good. I thought it was holding there, but then I realized it pegged the map sensor.
It pegged the map sensor, and it made it made like 1250. And 1250. Like at the end, like he's like slapping the shit out of it.
It got to 6700, and I seen it just peg the map sensor out, so I'm smacking, right? We'll shut it down.
Yeah.
And you hit the space bar, and I look over, and I'm like, damn, that looks like it says 1250.
I started laughing immediately.
I said, we're done here. Unstrap this fucking thing.
Dude, he drove the thing here like hour and a half. Yeah, hour and a half
Pump
away.
85.
Yeah.
Pump 85.
And
hot rod.
That thing's a hot rod.
Yeah. It's scary, though.
10 bolt Stock leaf springs.
Stock rusty shocks in it.
Yep. Stock shocks. 4L80.
Yep, built 4L80.
Stock ECU.
Stock ECU. Stock PO1. Not even the good one. Not even a P59, a PO1.
Yeah. That is funny.
3-bar. I think it's a unit.
2.5 bar that we just found out today.
2.5 bar, right?
Right.
And it's, it's fairly budget, right? Like it's piston rod, stock crank, 6-liter, 85 102 VS,
Yep.
T6 flange. I built a 2.5-inch hot side for it, like
Right.
a race car, right? Forward, up and forward deal, not a crossover log or anything. 3-inch charge pipe and a VS 4-inch intercooler. It's nothing like, there's nothing extravagant there, right? It was the idea was a budget, right? Like stock ECU budget 1,000 horsepower deal.
That's exactly what
like the goal. The goal was go 9 something.
Mm-hmm.
Stock ECU, drive it to the track, go 9 something, make 1,000 on pump 85. That was the goal from the get go.
And that's exactly what it did.
Yeah, and we went to the before I even had on the dyno, I went to the track and it went 990 something, right? So at whatever the fuck it weighs, we'll say 4,500, right?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
And it went 9 something, right? So that like you do the math, it comes out to 900-ish wheel, right? So, and then we come here, we make 1,250 with a stock block on pump 85.
That's not. You're really worried about it. I'm not worried about it.
I just worried about the head gaskets, but
don't.
I got those on deck.
Yeah, head gaskets are what, $50 a piece?
Yep.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
Just weld the heads on. Get aluminum block. Weld
No,
the
just
heads on.
put. If it needs gaskets, it doesn't need head gaskets.
It might need head gaskets.
This thing pushed the tiniest bit of coolant out of the Chinese radiator cap, and for the last 2 hours, he's like, "Do you think it needs head gaskets?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think it needs head gaskets." Even if it pushed the head, even if it did push the gasket a little bit, I'm telling you,
she sealed right back up with the copper spray that's in there.
Those MLSs on those LSs, it's normal protocol.
Excellent.
I mean, when you really lift them and there's like water coming out of the side,
yeah, then you did it good.
Then you got to change the head gasket. But a little tiny tickle to give the coolant system a little pressure, she's fine, dude. Trust me, she's fine.
It could be that Chinese cap too, though.
No matter what, some pressure got into the system,
right?
Because even a Chinese cap that seals normally,
seal something,
yeah.
Right.
So at some point, it decided not to seal. But she settled back down, dude.
Yeah. It started right up and didn't fucking bend a rod or nothing.
No, and there was no smoke or anything. Those stock cylinder heads, like a lot of these LS guys, I think people are figuring it out now. But like, we figured out on Noah's car, we ran that thing. It was stock block, stock heads forever, and it was fast, right? But when we went to methanol, and we really, we're just trying to keep up, right? We're really leaning on the thing, and we were kicking head gaskets out of the thing. Not a lot, but we never did before. Right. We never put a gasket in that thing when it was on E85. Noah figured out that after the first time it blows a head gasket like good, the heads are junk.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's usually if I take the heads off anything, they're getting resurfaced.
No, I'm telling you, like it doesn't matter if you resurface them. That's what he's saying. They get noodly.
Well,
this is a fact.
Are you sure?
I'm positive because
I think it's more because they're fucking 4-bolt heads.
Well, yeah, but my point is after they lift the head bad and dump a bunch of coolant, you have to replace the head. There's no amount of resurfacing that's gonna.
I've repaired them though in a CTSV, Victor CTSV. Lifted the head of the track, I welded it back up, resurfaced them. It's been like that since.
And it's just as fast.
Just as fast.
And it's not blowing head gaskets. Why did blow the head gasket first?
It was sported up.
Sported back up to the same point. I bet you it blows even sooner.
No, it was on. So I put too much boost through it. Similar kind of thing. We were at the track. I turned it up and it had a ton of timing in it.
Yeah, so it's not apples to apples. You turned it down and now it doesn't lift the head.
No. I just took some timing out of it.
You turned it down and now it doesn't lift head gaskets.
I mean, if it's over timed, it's going to have a ton. It's going to have a ton of cylinder pressure. You know that.
Whatever, man. Put your noodle fucking head gaskets back on it. I don't care.
It just needs good heads.
It needs good heads.
6-bolt deals.
It doesn't even need to be. I mean, I don't. Does anybody make a thick flanged 4-bolt LS head? I don't even know. Yeah,
it's not even worth it, right? Well, I wouldn't put that on stock block, so you might as well stick with the fucking junk and keep putting head gaskets in it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time.
You just go to aftermarket deal after that.
Right. You mentioned that you did a 3-inch crossover on your truck.
No, it's 2.5.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. You loser.
Okay.
I seem to be doing all right though.
I mean, if it had a real turbo on it, it would have made that a lot sooner. I feel like.
For sure.
So, I mean, it's a fucking $400 turbo.
Right
From China. So,
I mean,
mad at that.
there is something to be said about like the difference between VS and like Garrett Precision is significant.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that in the past, right? I mean, Rob's Corvette had VS turbos and it made power, but I'm convinced still that on the same power level on a good turbo, it would have picked up crazy. Hundreds.
Yeah, it was low.
It was low for what? For
the amount of boost, because what it was, 2088s? I think it was 2088.
I think 2088s, yeah.
540 inch. And it didn't make overly impressive power.
No.
But where is that car now? Oh, he sold it.
Yeah. Well, the Vet engine and stuff went in that 57, and then he sold the 57.
Yep.
So he's got nothing now.
So what's next for you?
As far as? I
don't know, work, life. Oh, what's going on with life?
Life is good. I have a baby girl.
On the way?
Yeah, June. Shout out to the wife, cooking the baby up.
Uh-huh.
You know?
I'm a big proponent of babies.
I know, you love babies.
Yeah, dude,
we're out here making babies. The baby boom, man.
Yeah, dude. Sick. I'm so excited for you, dude.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm sure it'll be here soon.
Yeah.
So that, so we're doing nursery deal now, fixing the house up.
Oh, you're making a nursery?
Yeah. Yeah, we got a 3 seasons room that is pretty big that we're just, insulating and put some heat in and stuff.
Yeah.
Sheetrock deal,
Sick. So beyond the stock ECU tuning, let's talk about the nitty gritty here.
About?
I don't know. I want to get more techie into this stuff.
Techie?
Dude. Yeah.
Whew. You need a lot of time for that.
Well, let's do it, dude. You want to compare? You want to start comparing ECUs?
Whew. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. I might edit this little transitional period out, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I have to get the laptop out.
What's your favorite ECU? Oh, I actually don't even know the answer to this.
I don't know. All right.
You're building a car from scratch, race car, dedicated race car.
Fuel tech.
Yeah, every time. Is there a world we live in that you pick Mega Squirt over anything else?
If Mega Squirt was willing to make a drag race only operating system, right? Get in there. I don't give a fuck about this 55,000 stock ignition types, right?
Yeah. Rover. Rover trigger pattern.
Yeah, like I want, and even that's not even that big of a deal, right? But I want like a few more drag race oriented stuff, right?
Yep.
Because you know as well as I do, fucking Mega Squirt boost control kicks ass.
It is, dude.
Beyond its time.
Way beyond its time.
Like Chris's car, we had the wastegates fucking in the worst spot. Everything that you could have done wrong. And like you command 30 pounds, that motherfucker made 30 pounds.
Dome control.
Yep.
Yeah. So Noah's car was on Mega Squirt, was on MS3 for years, and it had also deadly boost control.
Yep.
Right? Closed loop.
Yep.
CO2 boost control.
Yep.
So you just tell the ECU what you want in the motor, right? Like and it does what it has to do as far as applying what it has to apply to the top of the gate to get there.
Right.
Deadly. I'm talking squared off, right?
Deadly.
Like insane.
Like I'm convinced that Mega Squirt's boost control would take over like a poorly placed wastegate.
Yeah.
Like easily on the closed loop.
Let me tell you this. So we switched the car. He wanted to put it on Holly, right?
Right.
Against my,
of course. Although at this time you were forcing people to put Mega Squirts in. That's why Chris and Frank had Mega Squirt to begin with. That was your
I don't think that was a bad move. My point about Noah is I don't think he should have gone from Mega Squirt to Holly. I think he should have gone Mega Squirt to Fuel Tech. But his reasoning was sound, right? And it was because it was a little more user friendly. At the time, Fuel Tech was, Holly had been out a lot longer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he was just more comfortable with the Holly stuff. So whatever, right? But the only thing we did was take it from Mega Squirt, from MS3 to Holly. No hardware changes. And the boost control was atrocious. To the point where, like I'm talking, it was deadly boost control on MS3 to the point, and we put it on Holly, and it's so bad that he had to put twin 60s on it.
Right.
And we spent a lot of time.
Dialing the PIDs in and stuff?
There's really not much you can do, right? There's like the PI&D term and then the rate limiter.
Yep.
Right?
That's all you get.
That's all you get, right? and we could not get a handle on this thing, and he had to make a canister for the dome pressure sensor, and
which is a good idea anyway.
It is a good idea anyway.
You know, like even if you already have a dome pressure sensor that's in the wastegate, I think that it could be just that much better by making it remote in a canister.
Yeah, I mean, so not a lot of people have seen that, right? But what he's talking about is like picture a small canister that you would use for like your back pressure. Right?
Yes,
Everybody's seen like
similar,
right, the billet back pressure canisters, right? And then there's got the sensor in the canister, and then the line goes to whatever the back pressure, right? Same thing with the dome pressure.
Right. It just gives you volume to smooth.
Right. So basically you would have one line into the canister with your feet, with your CO2, and you would have one line out going to your gates, and in the canister would be your dome pressure sensor. And what we saw from that was that it took out all the like, it dampened it, right? It took out all the micro moves that the pressure saw, right? Because what happens is like, this is what I think happens. I could be full of shit. I could be wrong on this. But like you have the dome pressure sensor on the top of the gate, right? And it's got a very small volume, right? The new gates are only like this tall, right?
Yeah, very little.
So not only does it's already small, but when they open, it's even smaller, right? The valve and the diaphragm come up, and so like any move of the boost control solenoid, the sensor sees.
Right, and most of these cars have 100 psi plus of CO2, right? Which it makes it that much worse because it has a lot of pressure behind it.
Well, and then it makes it so you're running 150 psi sensors, so the resolution goes away.
Right.
It gets noisy, right? And it just, all these issues start stacking up, and you get some really shitty boost control, right?
Yep.
And what we saw is putting it in the canister kind of dumbs that down.
Right. It helps dampen it out.
It helps dampen it, right?
Without having to, like we said, fuck around with smoothing it or trying to just read between the lines, right, of not great data.
Yeah, averaging like shit. A very erratic signal. And like, if you think about it, right, like OEMs have been doing that type of shit. There was fuel pressure dampeners, OEM on cars, like they've been doing that stuff forever.
Right.
So like, you know, of course, like we think we're like the smartest human beings on the earth, but the OEMs have been,
it's already been proven.
They stopped doing it in the 80s.
Yeah, they stopped doing it when they came out with better sensors.
Right. So, yeah, the MS3 boost control is still to this unbelievable.
Yeah, like I'm not convinced that you could even Fuel Tech's with the Fuel Tech block, you know what I mean?
No.
Their Mac valve deal is not going to compare to Megasquirt. You buy the literally just the cheapest Mac valves and put them on the Megasquirt, and you don't have to fuck with any. I don't remember playing with any PIDs.
No,
on the Megasquirt.
You would put it in simple mode.
Put it in simple mode, and you said, I want to make 30 pounds, 300 kPa, whatever you want to put in there, because it was in metric, right? You had to put in kilopascals.
Well, now you can put it in PSI.
Oh, fucking dial. We're going back to Megasquirt, baby.
I know. But remember,
that was the hardest part. I used to have on my phone just to chart what the conversion was.
Oh, I got it down. Pretty good. It was like 300 was just about 30.
Yeah,
right.
That's what we want.
Yeah, we want 300 and everything. Right.
The faster you get that thing to 300 is what.
The faster it goes.
If it goes up in smoke, you just take it out a couple tenths longer.
You go to 280.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's it.
Right. Yeah, but remember the bias table that they had?
Yes.
So what they would do is they had this table. It's called a bias table, and this might be way too inside baseball, right? But like it was basically just a starting point for the closed loop algorithm to start with. So it was just like a lookup table, right? So like you would just populate it. If you were looking for 200 kPa, whatever, 13, 14 pounds of boost, the CO2 should be here. And that's it. It would be its starting point. So if you just ask the ECU for 200 kPa, it would look at this table and say, all right, we'll start it. And then 12, and then it would go from there. But with all that being said, like Megasquirt really broke my heart because like they had something going and then they just failed to keep up.
They're just a little behind now, right? And the biggest problem that I think we've had in general is like everything would be fine for a while and then it would fuck up a driver or something, right? Like Chris's car was good for that injector driver.
Yep.
And they were like, these injectors or these boxes can run those injectors, right? Remember they kept telling us. And there's a couple cars I think that we ended up putting Fuel Tech peak and hold drivers in. Yep. And those have been good, I think, so far. Even though it says the Megasquirt can run the low impedance injectors. But Megasquirt I remember they would fix them, right? You'd say, hey, this thing, whatever,
Right.
2 injectors aren't working. And they'd fix them, but they'd always be like, and you wouldn't have to pay, right, except for shipping. But they'd always give you like a runaround. Oh, our supplier used less than ideal material, right? And it's like, okay, great. Like, that's fine. But like, I need it to not happen when we're racing, we're racing one of these events. And
well, it got to a point
fucks off.
We had so many cars on it that it got to a point where like, Mike would call these guys. I'm not going to sit here and just slander these guys, right? No. But like they would want to go through the formal diagnostic process, and Mike would just be like, "Listen, dude, this is like the fifth one."
I remember sending them, like they wanted to do that, and I remember sending a couple pictures and a video of me with an oscilloscope on the injector clip with the car running, Chris's car, and I was like, "The car's running." You know what I mean? Like, and I remember pinning it like right at the ECU, right? Like right at the big plug with my oscilloscope. And I was like, you can't argue that. You know what I mean?
There's nothing happening.
Nothing here.
Right.
This is, and they were just like, all right, send it in. Yep, you're right. And I'm like, I know I'm right, you know? Like, and it's not like me being like arrogant or whatever. It's just, I did the test for you already, you know? Like I did what you were going to do.
I mean, in their defense, right? They probably get a million phone calls.
Of people that don't put the fucking ground on, right?
Right.
The things, they put a zip screw into the fucking terminal on the battery.
They're motherfucking the ECU up and down.
Right.
And it's not. I mean, it's almost never the ECU. That was a very specific problem.
Right. But I think that we also kind of push them hard. Like, I don't think they ever claim to do anything. They're like a ECU that is, they're trying to do like a lot of plug and play stuff, right? Like the Miatas, the plug and play Mustangs and stuff. I don't think they really necessarily say that they, you should be running a class raced.
Yeah.
I mean, they work well, right? Like, we've had success in the cars that did have them.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the biggest downfall, the reason I like Fuel Tech so much...
is that I don't have to have the ignition on to fucking pull the tune out of it.
Wow, that is sick.
Is like between that and the tune being attached to the log is like, for those two reasons right there.
Oh, I mean, there's a bunch of reasons that I love Fuel Tech, right? Yeah, the ECU being live with the USB.
Right, is fantastic.
That's sick, right? The G meter being built in.
Right.
Fucking God forbid one of you motherfuckers has to buy a goddamn G meter, right?
Well,
they're like $400. Yeah, you don't need that. Okay, dude. The support, and most importantly,
the support does kick ass.
The data logging software is above and beyond. Yeah. And so, all right, let's just get right into it, right? So, I was over here hating on Haltech, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a poor choice of words. I'll give them that, right? But the reality is I do truly think Haltech is one of the nicest ECUs on the market for the price point, right? I've used them a lot. I was tuning Haltech before Fuel Tech came out,
I remember.
Right?
Yep.
And but their fucking data logging situation, I do not understand how it's this bad for this long. And if any of you come into my comments and tell me to export it to Megalog Viewer one more time, dude, I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is there's always a workaround. Like I kind of do similar stuff with like the stock ECU, right? Where like certain things I'll do in Excel because it's, like math functions. Although, like
listen, I'm not hating on Megalog Viewer.
Right.
I prefer
But it should be, for an aftermarket ECU, the logging should be there.
I shouldn't have to use some Megasquirt shit on to be able to interpret a Haltech data log. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
The native software should be sufficient.
I will give. I wish I can remember his name. The guy that basically started the shit show the last time I was talking smack on Haltech. I think his name is Mike.
Great. Great.
Yeah, he started it all, but then we messaged each other, and we ended up talking for a long time. And just as every confrontation turns out, you have a lot in common.
Of course,
you know what I mean. Yeah, and now we're boys.
If he even knew to do that, right, is usually a good sign that he knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Okay, that's a great point, right? Yeah, he reached out, and now we're friends. We're Facebook friends.
He reached out and said, "Stop running your fucking mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
This is how you do it."
Well, more importantly, what he did is he brought me to school.
He did. He schooled your ass.
He not that I didn't know this, but I guess I didn't realize that I could set up a new page on the Haltech and create a trace view.
Right.
And basically, I mean, it still doesn't get you away from the fact that you have to download it as a playback data log. I don't know. Do you have much Haltech experience?
No, not really. I mean, a little bit, but nothing like...
It's a really good ECU. It really is, right? But like, when you download the log, you could either download it for like review in like you export it, right? For like what they would call data viewer, I think is their program, and it's bad.
Right. You
right.
Saying that, yep.
So you would just open it in Megalog Viewer.
Right.
But it doesn't run through the tune. It doesn't have any trace back through the tune.
Okay.
Right. But
Right.
So they have another option called the playback option.
Okay.
Right. Which it opens it up at the bottom of the tune, and it literally just scrolls through the tune, and that's amazing.
Right.
Right. Like Fuel Tech doesn't even do that. Right. But it's very limited. It's, the size of it is small. Right.
Yep.
You can't really set 0 points. It's just it doesn't give you a lot of tools,
clumsy.
right?
Compared to other, I think that's the other thing, right? Is like if we didn't know, right? Like Fuel Tech does a really good job of that. Like Holly's data logger is decent,
Right.
But like if you didn't know any better, it wouldn't be half bad. I feel like, I just feel like other ECUs do it better.
Yeah. Right.
Like it has everything you need, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, I suppose it does. I suppose it does have.
Maybe it's just
everything
user error.
I'm positive it's user error, right? Don't get me wrong, right? But where I was going with that is like you could set it up for playback, right? And then you just create a new page in the NSP software, and you just put a trace view. And then you could put all the things that you do want it to through there. So that's actually helpful. You can't compare in that. You can only compare in the others, So there is some limitations, right? But it definitely, I will be trying it the next time I get my hands on a Haltech car.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what about you? You got to pick your ECU.
Dude.
But
MS1. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, you definitely are joking.
It depends on the application, right?
I feel that, right? Like, because I feel like that does come up often, right? Like specifically the Holly versus Fuel Tech, right?
Right.
And the biggest point to make, right, is like the car. If the car makes 1800 on a Fuel Tech, it's not going to make any more power on any other ECU.
Oh, I just had this conversation with a guy the other day.
And that's the biggest thing I tell people is like, if you don't like, Holly does a good job of making it a little bit more user friendly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got to change the fuel, and it's like, there's a fuel injector up there, boom,
Right.
Like, click the fuel injector, I want to change the spark, check the fucking spark plug,
Right.
And like, they made it a little bit easier there, right? But Holly does have the advanced tables, which you and I do a ton of shit through.
Yeah, we get weird with the advanced tables,
right? And sometimes people are like, I don't even know what the fuck's going on here, right? Set up 3-step or whatever fuel offsets. I've done
a fake output.
I've done fake output to an input.
Right.
I've done multiple stage dry nitrous on Terminators because Terminators only allow you one stage, right? So I've done full nitrous dry shot nitrous stuff through the advanced tables on Terminators. So that side is nice. And I also like the Dominators if it's a car that gets street driven because you can just put all the inputs and outputs through the ECU.
Yeah.
Like blinkers in there, high beam, low beam. Yep. You can, when that thing's on the chip, I can have it fucking flashing the lights and doing whatever through the advanced tables.
And the inputs and outputs are so flexible.
Right.
It's insane. And they work.
They work.
They do exactly what they're supposed to do.
I know it's so funny because like, I feel like every time I've called you on something that's like an advanced table, you're just like, just trick it by, just put the output, but don't even pin it,
Right.
Like the Holly can Terminator, right? Same thing. Add a shifter on it, air shifter, right? And
so wait, you're saying the can expansion box for the Holly?
The can expansion box for the Holly. On a Terminator, right? You only get 4 outputs. So I added the shifter, and that's on the can, but you can't pin out the can.
You can't
output.
select the can module as the output for the shifter in the transmission ICF.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. So when you go to the pin map, right, you don't have the option to put it there.
Right.
So what I did was you just set up the output through the IO, right? You set up the output for shifter, and then you just have it linked to the shift output, but the shift output's not physically pinned. It's just sitting up in the top, So it says, "Are you sure you want to save the tune?" It's not all your pins aren't fucking pinned or whatever.
I wish you could get rid of that.
What, the option of it saying that?
The box that pops up.
That's that much of an inconvenience for you? I just say
happens to me every day.
It just pops up and I just say fuck off,
Yeah, well,
click it. Okay.
Yeah.
But it does work. That does work well, you know?
Yeah.
Which is nice because, I mean, I guess, right, like, where's the point where, you know, by the time you buy a Terminator and the IO, how much money did you save? You know, like a Terminator or Terminator X is what, probably $1,000. X Max is a little bit more.
I think the prices went up. I think initially let's call it the $1,200 range.
Right.
But it includes the harness and the wideband.
I thought it's 14 with that, with the harness and shit.
Okay, let's call it 14.
I was just saying just ECU. Right. Okay.
Let's call it $1,400 for a turnkey deal. Holly Terminator.
Right. For LS.
Right.
Yep.
But how much is a Holly Dominator deal?
I think the ECU is fucking $2,200 or $2,400. You know.
Right.
But I'm saying, like, by the time you add a $400 or $500 USB expander or a CAN expander, you know, you're 20. You know what I mean? You're almost at that $2,000 mark anyway.
Right.
So, like, for the added, right? Because not only like the money, right? Like Terminator, you can only add so many of the configs, right? Like Dominator, you go and you can put fucking 10 stages of nitrous, whatever, 6 stages of nitrous, and it's all pre-configured. The Terminator, you can't even pull that ICF in, you know? Like, you just get the one stage, and you have to fuck off through the advanced tables to do all the other bullshit, which works, right?
Which is fine.
It's
but
just
you don't get much of the...
I thought you said no phones, man.
Well, you know, when people call me more than once in a row...
Oh, shit, here we go.
Rob fucking Harper, cocksucker.
Cocksucker.
That's my boy, buddy. He just called me twice in a row, and I wanted to make sure he's not on fire laying in a ditch somewhere, so I just... But he's not. He's just making fun of me right now, so...
That'll happen.
Yeah, that'll happen. Yeah, I'm not really interested in hearing about saving whatever, $800 on an ECU. Right? Like Terminators are great, right? You bring me like a C10.
Like my truck.
With
on a Terminator.
With a 6.0 with a 4L80,
yep.
Street Cruiser, Terminator.
Perfect.
All day, every day, right? Plug it in.
But you want a competitive race car. It's not necessarily the ECU that you want.
Well,
it'll work, right? And like that's not.
Well, the biggest shortfall for really racing a Terminator is there's no internal data logging.
The logging is the worst, and it logs at 40 frames or whatever, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a restriction of the USB cord.
Right.
Like in general, I don't think that's specific to Holly.
Right.
I think a conventional USB Type A can only transmit at 40 hertz. I could be full of shit on that, but
it sounds like you might be.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure I'm right on that because, like, amongst all the ECUs, Link and Max and everything, it's all stuck at 40.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah, that is the biggest thing. You know, is like you don't realize how bad that logging rate is until you get into something that's
not only that. You need a fucking laptop in the car.
Right. Yeah, it's flying around, fucking on the floor, right? And you fucking launch and the thing's disconnected and then the
yeah. You wiggle the USB.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
Right. So like. Yeah, I was just doing a car last night, and he sent me a computer log on. It was a Dominator car, but he sent me a.
And you were like, "What are you doing?"
I'm like, "Dude, did you record this with the laptop?" He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Pull the log out of the ECU and send it to me." I was just being a snob, but whatever.
I mean, it depends, right? Like if you're checking something quick, if I'm putting up on the brake or whatever, I'm like, "Fuck 40," like because the Holly data logger, if you have it set to like a decent resolution, it's fucking. I'm too impatient to sit there and download the log.
Yeah, it is annoying. Yeah, because
especially like if the parameters aren't set right and you have fucking a 10-minute log for.
I like logging. You know, anything over 150 will get you there.
Right.
Right. Holly, and I learned this recently, can log up to 300.
Right.
So I always thought it was stuck somewhere around 200. And I was working on a nitrous car, and I increased it to 300, and I was able to see more data points. So I thought
did you see what you needed to in that particular instance?
So the reason I did it in that car is because it was a nitrous car that I was running at a pretty high level that I needed to run on a drive shaft curve.
Okay.
And I was getting the idea that I wasn't seeing the full picture. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, because like when you're racing, when you're doing on-track stuff, you're so zoomed in. You're so zoomed in.
Yeah.
Right? So like every move means something. You know what I mean? And especially when you're talking about a drive shaft curve, right? You know, a little tiny spike in the drive shaft could be significant or it could be nothing. And when you don't have the correct amount of data, right? When it's missing data, right? It could be important. right? So yes, I did learn what I needed to learn.
Good.
Fuel Tech only logs at 200, which has been fine for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sufficient, right?
I wish it would log higher. I'm not even sure I would do that, but I wish it did. Haul Tech says I think it could log up to like 1,000 hertz, but I'm not sure I'm buying that.
Huh.
But I'm sure it's higher than 200, so that's sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is sick.
But back to your original question, as far as like what ECU would I pick? I mean, if I were running a car competitively, it'd be Fuel Tech for sure, right? Yeah. And like that's
the support alone, right?
The support is good, but really, you know, it's funny, right? Because everybody makes fun of the fuel model, right?
What, it being in
pulse width, right? But I've learned, not so much with the turbo cars, it's not really that important, but with the nitrous cars, you run them in open loop.
Right.
And it's kind of nice, like knowing the exact amount of milliseconds you're going to put into the motor, right? So, you know, there are some advantages to that. A lot of ECUs have a lot of good fuel models. I don't think Holley's all that great on their VE model, right?
I mean, it's convenient, right? Like VE is always convenient because you change the targets.
Yes.
Right? Like Fuel Tech, you want to richen it up or lean it up, and you got to take the same amount of fuel out. Yeah. The percentage difference from the target.
Move and target you have to apply to the fuel.
Right. And if you have the closed loop open enough, right? Like if you weren't comfortable,
doing
that math, right? Which sometimes people will get a little leery, right? Like you could change the targets and the closed loop will take it out, and then the next log you can take out the difference, right? But realistically, if you richen it up 5%, you're just going to add 5% to the fuel table up there, and it should be fucking dialed if it was decent before.
I guess I just like the full control in some situations with the Fuel Tech, and in regards to the fueling. Right. I like the data logging. I like the support. I like all that. I like the built-in team viewer.
Yep. Yeah.
Like that shit's sick.
That is sick.
But like the Holley stuff, like, you know, I was saying, I'm not convinced Holley has the best fuel model. But what I will say for certain is that it works well. Like I can take a VE table from one tune and put it into another tune, and it acts the same. It does the same. Like if I did a 427-inch small block Ford, and if I did a 427-inch small block Ford on whatever methanol, right, and then I do another one on Holley, I could take the fuel map from the first one and put it in the second one, and it is consistent throughout.
Right.
So, well, it looks like we're getting our fucking. There's people here. Who gave you a key? Unbelievable. All right, let's get out of here. This was fun.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
All right, later.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
All right, love you, bye.
Bye.
Oh, hey there. So you probably just watched the Mike Christiansen podcast. My super sick iPhone died, ran out of storage, so there's about 20 minutes, about 18 minutes exactly, of dead air. So I haven't finished editing it yet. But I'll fill it with something. I'll probably fill it with like stills of his work or whatever the case may be, right? But I just wanted to do like a monologue type deal. First, I want to give my thoughts on how this whole deal is going, right? I couldn't be happier, right? This is insane, right? The numbers this thing is doing is absolutely fucking crazy, right? Never would have expected it, right? I'm hyped about it, right? I realize that this thing needs like a revamp, right? Like the back of the shop, like over here, needs a revamp, right? The mics, these are like $40 mics that were gifted to me by Jimmy Oaks, right? Shout out Jimmy. So, eventually it's looking like this thing is going pretty well, right? And I'm gonna have to invest some money into it, right? And I'll do that, right? But we're also coming up on my race season, right? So, the race season, not my race season, like the racing season, right? So, like, I'm going to be gone. I think in April, I'm gone 3 out of 4 weeks. In May, I'm gone 3 out of 4 weeks, right? So, I don't really know if I'm going to be able to stick to the once a week deal that I've been doing, right? It's obviously a lot easier when I'm not traveling in the winter. My plan is is to try to record some of these on the road, right? Which opens us up to guests that just don't come to Connecticut, right? I don't know how that's going to go, right? Asking people at the racetrack is weird to me, right? To do a fucking podcast in the back of a trailer, you know what I mean? We'll see how it goes. I got guys like Nick Chapman that I think would be a great guest, you know what I mean? That says he'd be willing to do it, right? Stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes, right? But furthermore, let me know, right? Let me know in the comments how to make this deal better. Let me know, who you guys want to see on here. Dude, I know we've been talking about Nova Joe for since this whole deal came together. And we're going to get him on, right? No, Joe's a good friend of mine, right? Like, he's just a very busy man. He's 2 hours away. We'll get him, right? He'll get on here. But, if there's other people and other facets of racing that you guys want to see, I tune cars. I road race Miatas. I do, tops, Texas standing mile stuff, all sorts of stuff. Like, if you guys are interested in branching out, dude, we can do it for sure. But as far as this last podcast goes, I had recorded the Mike Christiansen podcast before the Tabor podcast. And I knew that was kind of a mistake, but like most of these that I do, it's basically how the schedule lays out, right? Mike needed to use the dyno. Great. You know what I mean? So let's sit down and report a podcast. Literally the next week, the Tabors needed to, bring me their car to tune it. Great. You know what I mean? Let's record the podcast. But the reason I'm saying that is because I released the Tabor podcast before the Mike Christiansen podcast to give it context, right? Because Mike is the man behind the Tabors deal. And if you've been following along, you'll now know that, right? So hopefully, because I released Mike's after the Tabors, it'll be a little more interesting to you guys, because without the context of the Tabors, you may not know who he is. So, I'm pretty bummed out that I fucked the whole deal up with the phone and the video and stuff, right? Because Mike is a good friend of mine, right? I think he's extremely talented, and I really wanted to redo it. We're just out of time, right? We're just, I'm leaving literally tomorrow to go, to Rockingham for a race, right? And I won't be back for another 2 or 3 weeks. So I have to release what I got, which is unfortunate because, it's just not my best work, right? But it is what it is, right? It's raw. You'll see it, right? People come in the door, there's interruptions, the video dies, whatever, right? Fuck it. You guys love it or hate it, right? So, I just wanted to, let's talk about the Tabors for a second, right? Dude, first of all, Chris's car right now is an animal, right? He's right now down at the Cletus shootout, the all-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive shootout. Literally, today is Wednesday. I think they're racing tomorrow. The car is basically untested. Out of anybody I've ever tuned a car for, I am the least concerned about them not being tested, right? And you guys know this. If you've been watching the Tabors, dude, these guys just got their shit together. They're going to go down there. They're going to do great. I'm not even worried about it. Mike's with them. I might hear from them. I'm probably going to have to reach out to them to see how they're doing, right? That's how self-sufficient they are. But they've got a fucking hot rod. Chris's car has come so far along. It's ridiculous. Originally it was like you heard on the podcast, a 406, 23-degree conventional small block. Now it's like, I don't know if we went over the details, and I'm not even sure he wants me to release it, although I'm almost positive he doesn't give a shit. But it's like a 15-inch small block Chevy, but it's 18 degree. It's got a sick intake manifold on it, 98 millimeter turbo, big fuel pump, 700-pound injectors. I'm not going to divulge exactly what it made. I know on the podcast he said he was on here trying to get the small block record. He fell a little short. Honestly, if his converter wasn't a no prep converter, it probably would have beat it. I'll leave you with this. It had 700-pound injectors at 82% duty cycle. Okay, on 30 pounds. You know what I mean? It's a fucking animal. It runs good. It sounds good. It literally didn't skip a beat. They brought it here on a Sunday night. I loaded a tune-up in it, and we just made rips. I don't think we worked on the car at all. I think we checked the transmission fluid. I think we literally checked it because the converter was so loose. You know, and it's funny, right? Because this rendition, Mike had put in a torque converter pressure sensor, which the car never had. It never had shock sensors. It never even had a working drive shaft sensor. Like, these guys just old school power managed it, right? I'm being dead serious. It had no form of traction control, no front wheel speed sensor, no shock sensors, nothing. They just kicked it old school, and they kicked ass, right? But he put a pressure sensor in it, and right away, dude, the converter's got like, I think the most converter pressure it has is like 70 pounds, right? And that's just not enough, right? So we're probably going to put a jet in the orifice and tighten that up a little bit. That might help them a little bit. But, you know, for as far as what they're doing at Cletus, you know, it's a backside. It's at Bradenton, but it's on the shutdown. It's probably going to do really well. I'm not going to lie to you. So let's see how that goes. You know, if it go, you know, I don't think if it matter how it goes, right? But ideally, when they get back, we'll have them back on. Maybe we'll have the Tabers and Mike come back on and tell us their whole thoughts. I don't know if that's what you guys want. Originally, I didn't want to do that because there's a bunch of podcasts that do that. They do, you know, like weekend race reviews and whatever, and that's cool. Like, I watch them. I like Lyle and Stevie Jackson's stuff. I watch, right? I'm a fan. But I didn't want to just like flood the market with that kind of shit, right? But if you guys want that, dude, I'll have these guys back on. I could have Jamie back, you know, Jamie Miller back on anytime. He lives right down the street from here. I mean, if there's something that you guys want them to come in and talk about, let me know in the comments. You know, right now I'm kind of just going through my friends list and you know, calling people that I know will pick up the phone and come down here and shoot the shit with me. So, you know, if you guys want somebody specific, tag them, badger them, you know, tell them to get a hold of me, you know. I'm not that hard to find. And, yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let me know where you guys want this to go. Again, my race season is upon us. My phone is crazy. I'm sorry if I'm not getting back to you. I'm traveling a lot. I'm answering a lot of calls. You know, it's just this time of year. You give it like 2 or 3 60-degree sunny days out in New England, and it is just fucking wild, right? It is wild. Like, the phone just doesn't stop. And I get it, right? But so dude, I can't thank you guys enough. This thing is awesome, right? I really enjoy doing it. I think I'm getting better with it. You know, and I just noticed for the first time, nobody told me, right? But when all these guys touch this table, you can't even hear it in the mic. So I'm like yelling at these guys, like, don't touch the table. You can't even hear it. The little mixer deal seems to do a pretty decent job at filtering that out. So, you know, I'm learning. Let me know suggestions, people you want to see, what direction you want to go. If you guys even want me to do while I'm at the races, if you want me to do some bullshit like that, I don't know. Seems a little gay to me, but I'll do it, dude. Like I said, you know, I'm numb to a lot of this stuff. I've been doing it for so long, all day, every day. So, like, you know, right behind me, there's a twin turbo Chevy 2, right? That might as well be a Camry. You know what I mean? Like, I just walk by it like it's nothing. The fucking thing is sick. You know what I mean? Beadlocks and methanol and all sorts of cool shit, right? But, like, you know, it's just, you know, when you do it every day, it's just is what it is, right? Yeah, let me know, dude. I just want to get on here and talk to you guys. So, you know, like, comment, subscribe, let people know. You know, it's also surprising to me how many people struggle to find this deal, right? It's literally on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. You could literally Google my name, bootleg tuning, right? Like, if all you did was pick up your phone and write bootleg something, I'm pretty positive this pops up. So if I'm missing the mark, like if there's something extremely obvious that I'm like an avenue that I'm just completely missing, let me know. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, thank you guys, dude. This is sick. Hopefully we keep it going. All right. Bye.